Oh, yeah. It's another episode of the Social Distance Drinking Club, the Sunday Day Drink. And here I am, Sunday Day Drinking with a little less social distance, since we're here with Luke Wortendyke once again joining us. It is the continuation of Wren-iversary week. I am wearing a pink Las Frescas shirt that is just a tad bit too small, but a tad bit too big, rather. But it still looks, it's very fitting on my body. It's great.
Yusuf, we wear pink on Wednesdays.
Why is Wednesday Pink Day?
Oh, come on, man.
I didn't get it. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Guys, thanks for joining us. It's episode 27. It is our second in our Wren-iversary series. I'm here with Luke. We are in the brew house right now. There's some tanks and delicious stuff behind me. I am told that there's some stout in here I might be able to get my hands on, and not you guys, because we're all socially distant right now. But I'll tell you from a social distance how good it is. And you guys will be able to get it at some point at home when it's released. But the rest of you be set.
I feel like I've already paid for it. I just have to go get it now.
Tell us what you're drinking in the comments. Luke is going to talk to us here in a moment about No Comfort, their Hellas Lager. I am on a lager kick, and I'm sad because I couldn't make it to the lager festival that Wren House hosted back in November. So I've been on a lager kick. I made like the pilgrimage to Bierstadt in Denver while I was there, and it was fucking incredible. So yeah, I'm really excited to try this right now. But tell us what you got. Tell us what you're drinking, and boys, we'll go around the circle there. Adam Green?
Oh, me first. So, Borderlands from the old Pueblo, their Imperial German, chocolate cake porter. My buddy Ken, who is hoping to win our contest that we're running this week, brought that up from Tucson for me.
Now that you said it out loud, Ken can't win because it's supposed to be random, and if he does win, I like literally can't. Even if he did win by a choice of random number generator, Ken can't win now. I'm sorry.
I feel like he's still can.
No, can't win.
Also, Ken can't win. Beer name.
Beer name. 100%
I like that.
Red Berry, what are you drinking?
Oh, I am fortunate enough to have a little bit early Bird's Nest. Picked up earlier.
That's weird. I have one of those too. Huh. We might talk about that in a little bit.
Oh yeah.
All the way down in Tucson, I know you couldn't make the the flight here to pick up your beer and leave.
Yeah, right.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking coffee stout. Hold the stout. I have a really, really amazing friend getting married in September, and we are going to get sized up for some suits later this week. And I'm going to fast my ass off, literally my ass off, so that I can be close to the size that I hope I'm going to be later in the year. So it is going to be a beer-free, clean eating week for me, so I can get some stuff under control.
Well,
that's a bold strategy.
You gotta do it, man. Hey, it worked for every bride I ever met in our 20s, so why can't it work for me?
You're basically a 20-year-old woman that's getting married, so it'll totally work.
I'll cop to that. That's fine.
And you still look like you're in your 20s. You're gorgeous.
Oh yes. Now
something about me saying this in a pink tank top inside of a cellared room next to a bearded man with a large stein of beer. I don't know.
You're in the moment. We're vibing. It's fine.
And maybe on the accent like this, and I'm just like, you guys looking so very nice. Yeah.
Perfect. I think Adam Ledford's beard is in his 20s.
Yeah, these hairs are at least 20 years old right here.
One of these days we'll have to have a beard growing contest. I'll lose, but we'll have to have it. It'll have to occur. Like, how long does that take you to grow?
This was a month.
A month. That I barely had that, and it was all of quarantine. That was like 2.5 months.
What did you just do to that can, Brett?
There was some stout going down the side of it, so I didn't want it to stain my desk.
Did you lick the can?
I just want to make sure. Go.
Okay, solid question to ask anybody watching, but have you ever licked the stout off the side of a can? Because, yeah.
Am I going to waste it?
I mean, I have. I'm not saying I'm not judging him for. I was just curious what he was doing because
we've all done it. You've done it, right?
Probably.
There's a good chance that when we crack this open here in a bit, we'll just fight over it. We're not having a Lady in the Tramp Stout moment, so everybody calm down. This is not that kind of show.
You're not going to roll the can over.
You'll have to pay $29 a month.
No, you just put the can on the table and roll the can over to him with your noses. That'll be fun. Unopened, by the way, unopened. Otherwise, they're just going to really messy.
Well, yeah, there'd be a lot more to pick and clean up. So
A lot of stuff to lick off the floor.
So you guys already had some No Comfort, I'm assuming, or got a hold of some No Comfort, right?
I have to pick mine up still.
You still? Oh, that's right, because you couldn't make it down here today. You were too busy going to Costco.
Yeah, I needed provisions, So
Did you wear your social distance drinking club mask?
I did.
I've heard Costco is the place to wear it. Someone else who got one from me said that they got stopped 6 times and asked, "How do I join your club?" So
that's a much nicer Costco than mine. Mine, no one said anything, and I'm like, "Come on, say something." It's kind of itchy.
Yeah, no, it's not itchy. It's a perfectly fine mask. They're very comfortable. They're not itchy.
It was a little itchy, but I think it's the beer thing.
You're
a little bit. That's all.
Well,
Adam's a great marketer.
It was user error.
It's a little itchy. I don't know what to tell you.
Beer name?
A little itchy?
A little itchy, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably coming up on, Thursday?
What is it?
It's a little itchy. We'll come back on Thursday for us.
100%, yes. For the beer game on Thursday, for those of you who are just joining us, we're in the brew house here at Wren House. Luke's going to talk to us about No Comfort here in a second. I'm going to slide this over and give Luke the floor. And also, Drew Poole's going to join us in a few minutes, actually. Probably the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. He's going to join us remotely. And also on Thursday, we'll be playing the beer name game. If you haven't seen it yet, it's a blast. And apparently, It's a Little Itchy is going to be the name of one of the beers. But without further ado, the smooth slide of the camera. Look at that. Right on over. Almost smooth slide.
Oh, crap. You got that on a half track? That was amazing.
Right?
It is way larger than I thought it was.
She is all yours. Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Wortendyke.
Woo! Hello. No Comfort. It's a Hellas-style lager that we brewed. We worked on the recipe with Wayfinder Brewery out of Oregon and Holy Mountain out of Seattle. Kind of just wanted to brew a nice light pale lager, almost like a Helles that dips into Pils category a little bit. It's 90% plus, maybe 95% of a floor malted heritage Pilsner malt. It's called Barquet Malt by Wireman. And then we add a little bit of floor malted kind of heritage Munich malt as well. It's a Barquet Munich malt. Those are both like very old styles of malting that's still implemented by Wireman through a contracted family in Germany that grows this old variety of barley. Then we boil it for a while, like 90 minutes, a little longer than typical for our pale beers around here. And we load it up with Techninger, Czech Saaz, and Hallertau Middle Fret hops. Pretty straightforward. We use a Bavarian lager yeast for all of our lagers here. A similar strain to Weinsteffen. That's it. We ferment cold at like 46 degrees on this, so super cold for like 2 weeks, and then we make sure it's good to crash. All the flavors are clean, and then we lager it for a few more weeks after that. Naturally carbonated. Pretty good beer.
Went through a few of them at the pool yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, my 4-pack is gone.
Nice.
You only got one 4-pack, Brett?
Yeah, I figure I can go back for more. I don't live in Central Phoenix like you do, so it's all 5 minutes for me to get to Wren House.
Yeah, your resupply trips don't require actual planning.
I'm curious about the lager thing too, because I know I've talked to a few people in the brewing industry. I think Adam, you can attest this as well from your experience. That I like the big boozy stouts, the flavorful stouts, and it's like that's almost cheating. Whereas for brewers, is there something exciting when you can brew a lager or one of those style beers that comes out like as good as this one did?
Oh my God!
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you can't. in really clean, really crisp beer styles, you can't hide behind anything. Like your fermentation has to be perfect. You can't suffer any off flavors. Hop utilization has to be perfect. I mean, like it's a far more making a beer well is always a challenge, but there are some styles that are a little bit more forgiving, and Pilsners are not one of them. They have to be perfect or everyone will know and trash you for it.
Yeah, there's also just a really neat, historical element behind it to make something that kind of was the pinnacle of beer hundreds of years ago. To kind of mimic slightly what that might have tasted like. It's pretty exciting and just kind of brings us all back to like the core of industrial brewing, which is all just old school German practices. So yeah, we might not have, a decoction mashed on it, where it's a pretty simple 2-vessel system here. But we do everything the closest we can to traditional German lager brewing. So that's definitely an exciting part of it too.
Heck yeah. Adam, one other component of your question is that lagers just to do a proper lagering takes so long that it's also kind of a leap of faith. Like every hour that a beer's in a fermenter is costing a certain amount of money. And so for lagers to be so much more of a time investment, when a brewery produces good lagers, it's kind of a triple thumbs up vote of confidence that the owners and the brewers and the people who ultimately are going to buy a beer, it's a vote of faith in all three of those areas that they can actually do that, because otherwise you'd just be turning quick, whatever the highest demand is. Let's just make hazy IPAs all day. You know what I mean? It's like, it really is a bigger commitment to make a lager than almost any other style of beer.
Yep, totally.
I'm going to slide back in here, guys, because I have a couple of questions that, in regards to lagers, and hopefully if you guys can't hear us, just let me know as I try to squeeze the two of us in here. I might have to get a little close. I apologize. Drew, I see you in the background, guys. Drew Pool's going to join us in just a second. I think he can give us a little input on lagers too, because I know he's a fan. But when did like the transition to putting a focus on lagers really happen?
I don't know if there's like a direct moment that it happened, but we definitely started making a lager from day one, which was Signor Gallo.
Okay.
So I think there's always just been a little bit of lager brewing rooted in this company from day one, and I think it just has only expounded on that in terms of getting deeper into historical German lager brewing and seeing what our industry peers are making and just being inspired by them, which I think is a good kind of segue into this No Comfort beer, which is a great example of some American breweries who are just making some incredible lager beer. And it's just been a constant inspiration from guys like that.
Really good stuff. If you guys have any questions about this beer, about anything Wren House related, just pop it in the comments. Bridget says, Senor Gallo is fire. Yes, it is. Drew, I see you. You had your phone turned the right way a second ago. If that works, do that for me. Give me landscape. Let me get you in full widescreen, man. And we'll pop you in here in a second. So, sweet. We talked No Comfort. I want to pop Drew in here to chat with us for a moment. Adam Ledford, if you don't mind, we'll pop you out for a sec. Hang tight, though. Hang with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Drew Pool.
Drew.
Howdy.
How we doing, man?
Hello. I'm actually drinking a No Comfort right now.
Hey, we started off with one of those, and Luke was very thirsty, so I have to catch up. But cheers, sir. Now, since that's the social distance cheers, I think that's the appropriate one.
You guys look a lot closer than 6 feet, though.
You know what? We've opened the circle up a little bit.
I can see that.
We had no choice today. It's like
Right.
we had to do it at the brew house. But hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Did you guys partake in trivia?
I missed out on trivia. I was running errands. I wanted to, actually, because I was trying to get here and back before the show. But since I got here so late, Luke was gracious enough to say, let's just do it here. And hey, it's a pleasure. So,
How was trivia? How did it go?
It was great. We had like 120 some people
Hell yeah.
join.
Wow.
Yeah, and the guys put together like 30 plus questions. So everything there is to know about Wren House. So yeah, it was cool.
Nice.
It came out really nice.
And you guys gave away like a private tasting for 8 and a tour and everything, right?
Yeah, so I think Luke will probably be hosting some folks doing some barrel sampling or something like that. But
I hope you knew that. He's like, what? I'm
Well,
doing what? Nobody told me.
yeah, we've wanted to like do some private tastings while the tap room's closed, just so it's more controllable. And we thought this was a good way to test that out. So yeah, I think we have a group of like update folks going to come in and hang out and have a private experience while the tap room's still closed.
I dig it. I dig it.
Should be cool.
So on the topic of lagers, before we move on to trying Bird's Nest, I know that so Luke was saying there wasn't really like a transition period or like a moment of just like, lagers, that's what we must do. But what inspired like Lagerfest, for example?
So I think, we're all like super passionate about the craft of brewing. I think that runs deep, in everything we do. And I think lagers are kind of the epitome of what you can do as a brewer and as a brewery, and having those, to stand behind really showcases your brewery's commitment to quality and your brewer's expertise. So I think if anything, it really highlights, Preston and Luke's skill in the back to, produce super clean beers in a very manual, challenging setting. And then also being able to experiment with it a little bit, like we do the barrel aged mead barrel fermented lagers in our cold box, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a mix of, we love drinking them. I think we all have a deep appreciation for history and the history of brewing. So Pilsners, German lagers, and beyond, even the export stuff, I think we all have an appreciation of. So we wanted to see, where we stacked up and how good of, a lager we can make. So yeah, it was more of a challenge, if anything. And I think now it's become ingrained in what we do, and we kind of plan for it.
It looks like you have fans, Drew. Quite a few of them. If you look at the bottom there, Ian Harwell says he just came to say how cute you were.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Ian.
Very nice of him.
You're talking about lagers, you guys, and one thing I'll say is like, I have a style of beer. I like the darker stuff, even the hoppy IPAs and everything. And I've never been a big lager guy, and I think that's because largely the standard lager, that style of beer that we get, like the Coors Light, the Miller Lite, and all those, it's like kind of turns you off from that genre. So for you guys to be making a beer that looks like that, but obviously tastes way better, I imagine that to be pretty validating when you can get someone who's not a lager person per se. You're like, yeah, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think lagers, there's so many kinds of lagers too, which are exciting, but I think they're definitely a gateway, into super easy drinking, approachable style. Like a Valley beer is kind of a gateway into lagers. And then, yeah, you can get crazy with it. I think we brewed that Raisin Doppelbock a couple years ago as part of a collab, which, gets more into the intense side that are like bigger, chewier, more full bodied kind of lagers. But yeah, and it's not like we're the first to do it. Like Jack's Abbey out east has been making killer high gravity lagers for years and years and years, and I think they've really perfected it. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely fun to play with. And yeah, I think people, when you drink a good beer, it's a good beer, and it's well made, no matter if it's your style or not. I can go drink a Goza or something and appreciate it for what it is, even if it's not in my wheelhouse per se.
So I've got a question. Do we get another Lagerfest? And on that same topic, when the hell do we think we will go to a beer fest again? Because we were discussing this. I did find out we are not getting a real Wild and Woody. I was misinformed that we're not getting at anything anytime soon. We might get maybe a virtual Lagerfest in conjunction with you guys. Might be a thing we do. I don't know.
We might get a private tasting at Wren House sometime soon if we're lucky.
Yeah, I think a virtual Lagerfest is highly likely. I think we were super floored with how Lagerfest turned out last year, and we were just super proud of it. I think it came out really great. Really awesome breweries showed up. And I think walking away from that, all the breweries were like, sign us up for next year. And we had, a bunch more that came knocking that said, we want to be part of it. So the demand's there and we can't wait to do it again. But I think in reality, I think we're going to be locked down for a while. So I think it's going to be through the year. There's going to be some level of, it's probably not a good idea to have big events, but we'll see. Hopefully, maybe a vaccine will come out and we can be like, old news. But
they're going to try, though. I mean, I'm seeing it right now. They're talking about having smaller events at hotels already. They're letting weddings commence that are, I've seen guest lists of 100 plus.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? I mean, not to get too much into it, but I think it's just all based on, people's own levels of comfort when it comes to that sort of thing. So there's varying degrees. I mean, there's plenty of people walking around that are totally comfortable, that, if they got it, it'd be a risk they're willing to take. But I think also, being, Wren House and, we think we're kind of, leaders of the community, at least our little local community. And we just think it's, not the right thing to start opening up and exposing a lot of folks and getting risky. So that's the approach we take. We're a little more conservative.
Adam Ledford has a question, actually. I'm going to pop him in real quick. Do you want to go real quick, Brett?
Oh, sure. I was just going to say, I appreciate, Drew, the way you guys kind of approach this all responsibly. As somebody who is trying to have a not even that large of wedding, but a destination wedding, and my fiance and I are having to, with the cases in Arizona going crazy, even if where our wedding destination is it irresponsible of us to bring a bunch of Arizona people to an island in Puget Sound? And like, that's where I get a little bit of more strong feelings with people that are not taking it seriously.
I like the small flex there. Like, is it responsible of me to carry them to the island of the Puget Sound where I plan on having my wedding?
out on a yacht, it's a real intimate sort of event. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying for sure. And it'll be interesting for sure if Arizona keeps spiking, whereas other states maybe start going down. Like, are they going to start limiting, who can go where?
Well, it puts us in an interesting spot where if in Washington State, if they're opened up, but we're coming from Arizona, is it irresponsible of us for the people of that community? And, if we decide to delay, can we even get our large deposits back? And so that's my way of saying I appreciate responsible businesses that are doing their best to try to help maintain the levels at the safest level while people are still trying to support the local businesses.
Yes. And I want to give some credit to all the businesses that we've met that are doing that. I mean, you got to look at people like Danielle who are keeping Breadfruit closed, and Chef Silvana who hasn't opened up Barrio yet. And now you've got Cotton and Copper. They're just doing that very simple to go with that 15-minute pickup window. So it's just a single customer in that 10 to 15-minute window that can come in at a time. So people are being careful, and I appreciate when they are, because all the shit we've seen when we've walked around, I've driven by places and seen crowds piled on top of each other. It's been very crazy. Adam,
don't get me wrong. I think we're conservative, and we listen to our staff and their inputs and how they feel. And I don't want to make it sound like we're better than other breweries that decide to open or anything like that. I mean, everybody's got to make their own decisions, and it's kind of hard right now because it's compounded with a tough economy, and there's places that are going out of business, right? So it's a very challenging situation, right? So everybody has their own reasons. So definitely respect that, but we want to do as much as we can personally with our business so that we can to help, right?
Yeah, Drew, I had a question for you. Like, obviously, folks who are running, like to go and split on-premise models and stuff, they've managed to pivot. For the ones who decided to stay open, they've pivoted pretty cleanly into like a takeout only kind of model. In a sense, you guys still have the ability to do production, despite that being altered by on-premise sales being more difficult. But what do you think in an environment where you have kind of limited space to work with on premise, do you think that we're going to see maybe you guys, maybe other breweries go to some sort of more frequent private tasting reservation style thing, like, small groups only, get in first, maybe pay a premium to enjoy that on-premise experience again?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and it's something we talk about constantly on a daily basis. I mean, I think one thing's for sure, the to-go curbside model will probably become a mainstay of our business into the future, because I think it's just more convenient for folks. And depending on when we get back to normal, right, there still might be people with varying levels of comfort depending on what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we don't ever want to like make it difficult for somebody to come in and have a beer. So we want to make that as easy as possible. I think that said, over the next probably couple months, since I don't know, we're not planning on opening anytime soon. I think we might do those private groups and do like a reservation system a few months out, sort of thing, where people can reserve a night, a couple hours a night, sort of thing, where it's a more private experience. But I think to your kind of part of your question, it doesn't make sense to do half and half right now, because basically our tap room right now is a fulfillment center. Our bartenders are basically like, Amazon employees almost, where they're boxing stuff, they're fulfilling orders, and we can't really stop doing that and open the tap room. So we're using the full tap room space for that to-go model. So if anything, it would have to be, after we're closed, then we sort of open up for a couple of moonlight sort of private parties. But we're still working through that. We'll see.
You heard it here, folks. $1,000 for a night. Drew Poole will personally lead you to beer tasting.
Well, it probably won't be me, but yeah.
Wait a minute. We're only paying $1,000 if you're doing it, okay? If it's Luke, we're paying $950.
Oh, wow. I think Luke commands a higher price than I do, but.
One thing I'm wondering, unrelated to, I guess, when you guys open up, but kind of related to just the Reniversary Week, all the collabs you guys have been doing, and just how those come about with you. And I was like the No Comfort one, you got some from the Pacific Northwest, a couple big time breweries, and obviously I remember last year's Reniversary was collabs with all sorts of places. How do those come about to where you can make those beers with the collaboration like behind it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to it. So, I think Luke mentioned last time he talked to you guys, Colin's sister lives in the Phoenix area, and she, likes Wren House, and we catered her wedding basically, and hooked him up with some kegs, and that sort of started the relationship. And then, every time anybody would go to Seattle, we would make a point to go stop by, bring them beer, or ship them, cases of beer to try. And then it's almost like dating a little bit, right? Where the breweries try your beer and they're like, is that the kind of style of stuff I like? Or these guys just do pastry stouts or whatever? And, naturally, I think you can sort of figure out if you guys share similar like passions and the way you kind of run your brewery. So that's kind of a piece of it. And then, when it came to Wayfinder in particular, so Colin and Kevin are good friends. And I go to Portland quite a bit, but after we won our JBF medal, I used that as sort of like a inroad to ship like a case of Valley beer up to Kevin at Wayfinder. And he reached out. He was like, "Oh man, that stuff's killer." And then we ended up shipping a few kegs, and he started pouring it there. And then that's where we started talking like, hey, do you guys want to brew a beer together, sort of thing. So they were actually planning on coming down before the coronavirus stuff, but we obviously had to scratch that. But yeah, usually it's really like, getting to know the brewers, sending them your beer. If they like your beer, then it sort of like, starts the conversation. And, again, it's like, choosing friends or people you date. It's like, do you have mutual interests, and do you have, things that you share, hobbies and stuff. So
I'd like the next app, then collaborations, you're swiping left or right on breweries. Right. Like, we'll work with them, swipe right.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody gives me a hard time because I'm like the super strict like marketing guy. So So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a brand angle behind it too. Obviously, like you want to collab with other folks that are known for being great lager makers, right? Or great IPA makers, and you make a concerted effort to get to know those guys, right? So
And I'm wondering what the Wren House profile picture is, which beer it is that you would have on the collaboration Tinder.
I mean, it would have to be Valley Beer, or maybe Valley Beer Extra or something, a little mysterious, high gravity.
Can we please get the Brewers Association to make an app called Masher to
sounds violent.
You know, Drew, when I was in Portland last, I actually had Valley Beer on draft at Wayfinder.
Nice.
That's the flex. That's the flex right there.
Well, I was with people from Portland, so they had not had it before, and it was fun to kind of give them a taste of Phoenix beers while we were, shall we say, perusing the local options, which we basically did for 3 days.
Yeah. Portland is like just a playground for beer enthusiasts. It's pretty excellent.
I still haven't done Portland, and I'm ashamed to say. I know, but listen, I've been to Seattle. I've been to the Seattle-Portland Academy of Seattling, I believe is what it's called. It's just where all the Seattleites and the Portlanders just hang out at the same place. I think it's just Cap Hill, really, which is now currently the autonomous zone. You go away, Adam Green. Nobody asked you.
Yeah, you sound so authentic right now, Yusuf.
It's actually a really good inside joke. It's not meant for you guys. But the Portland Seattle Academy of Seattling does make sense to people in Seattle. I promise. So, it's just Cap Hill. It's just people from Portland telling you they're from Portland, and people from Seattle telling you they're from Seattle. That's it. It's the same bar.
Keep explaining it. It's only going to get funnier.
No,
I get it.
There's more to it. Let me expand on the joke. It's so good. Let me use my Trump hands. Huge joke. Great joke. So we just poured something out of a tank for us. So before we move on to Bird's Nest, which is a preview of tomorrow's beer, and I'm super excited for this, we were talking about a Horace collab, and I didn't realize I was going to get a taste of this. I don't think Drew did either. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think all of our horse collabs are cursed. So.
We don't want to watch him drink that right now. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, best.
It sounds like something that wouldn't be good for the three of us. So, Drew, I'm sure you've had it before, so it's fine. But
here's how easy it is to get rid of everyone
it.
else. it could just be you and I. Let's talk about the tiki stout, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, so did you try it?
I just had a sip. Bird, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm getting a ton of cinnamon, a ton of is there some nutmeg in there? Some
Nutmeg, yeah.
Coconut, obviously.
There's a little
sweet cinnamon or hot cinnamon.
Sweet cinnamon.
There's both.
But I think there's some heat on it.
A bunch of sweet cinnamon and a little bit of hot cinnamon.
Just right at the end.
Some Madagascar vanilla.
Get in here and talk about it. I'm not watching me drink it. You talk about it.
Yeah, so I'll just go over it real quick. The base of this beer is a few barrels, just a handful. 2 of them were actually Century Grand Select barrels from a couple boutique distillers around the country, and they kind of selected their favorite barrel, and then that ended up in our hands. We quickly aged a just big base imperial stout, one of our 12% kind of around there, kind of big sweet stouts, for only 3 to 4 months in these barrels, just to pick up just some subtle oak qualities and not too much bourbon heat. We got a little oakiness from that, and then we quickly put it on, like we just said, some sweet cinnamon, some hot cinnamon, some Madagascar vanilla, a touch of cocoa nibs, just a touch of coconut, nothing overwhelming, and then some bergamot orange peel, and I think that's it. Pretty sure.
Right, and obviously, so since Undertow was a collab partner in that, the whole point was to create a tiki-inspired drink, so that's why there's so much going on. But
yeah, so
I'm sure it blends beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the richer category of tiki drinks. It's not the fruity light kind, obviously. If you go to Undertow, they definitely have some heavier, rich cocoa, cinnamon, almost like these warming, darker tiki drinks. So we were trying to mimic that style of tiki cocktail.
Very nice.
So
That's delicious.
the name Bird, obviously Wren is a bird, Horace is a type of bird. Was that just a simple, what the hell do we call this? Do we just give it a bird name, or?
I think you're hitting it.
Yeah.
Kyle just thought it'd be funny.
That sounds like a Kyle move. It's a bird. It's bird.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, that one's gonna be good. And then have you opened the bird nest yet?
We haven't, not yet. We're about to. I want to touch on a couple more things real quick, though. This isn't the first time you guys have done something with Horace. We talked about this on the last show, how it was it steel-toed flip-flops the first time that we couldn't get canned, or was it?
No, that was
Desert Tropical.
Desert
Tropical. Sorry, thank you. Desert Tropical. Yeah,
I'll be reading now.
You should have played trivia. You should have done that. You would have won.
Yeah, so I said our horse beers are generally cursed because after the first batch that we did of predation, which was great, the second batch had seam issues, so we couldn't sell that, externally to go. So that was like a tap room only. I think it was like the $8 a can thing or something. That lasted for a long time, and then Desert Tropical, which re-fermented, which wasn't good after we canned it. So we had some exploding cans in our backyard for a while, and then I mean, they taste great. We redid all of them, of course, and they came out better than ever. But
well, you guys always take good care of everybody. Spending time and money.
So Drew, I asked Luke this, and he punted to you. So we're putting you on the spot. When are we going to see a Wren tiki mug like our friends from Horace did?
Yeah. So, so I think they're cool. I wonder, like, price point, like how, because they're not cheap, right?
I think the ones that Horace offered for public sale were in the $175 range.
Yeah, because I mean they're handmade and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
also, Kyle's beers are in the 45 to 65 range. So
yeah, it only takes 2 beers to actually equal the cost of one tiki mug.
That's Southern California money, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do like a Saguaro Society tiki mug or something next year. That'll be our merch.
Please do.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
I think it's like Adam Green coming in like the mailman in Don't Be a Menace to South Central. He's just like, okay, and he's out. That's it.
Yeah. Guys, I got to bounce. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Boys, take it home for me.
We shall indeed.
All right.
Thank you for joining us. Cheers, sir, to your coffee, not stout. Salute to you. Back to the show.
God, I'm so glad he's finally gone. Jeez.
Man, don't talk about Adam like that. He's my favorite Adam.
This is awkward.
Hey, Drew.
Hey,
Drew.
Yes.
I would say, in honor of trivia, it was the Predation Seam cans. It was $6 a can in-house, and that was the greatest thing ever because every time I went in there, I just had a Predation can for $6 on top of whatever else I wanted to try.
That's right.
That was the best deal in town.
Yeah, and I should say, I was probably selling ourselves and Kyle short on that. I think the reason that some of those quirks happened is because I think with Kyle especially, he definitely wants to push the limits of what we can do. So like the coconut thing, right? Desert Tropical, that was like an ungodly amount of coconut that I think, even for him was a lot. So yeah, we like to experiment too, and we're not worried to fail so much or have to go back to the drawing board. So it's fun to do with Kyle, like just, crazy off the wall stuff. So
Well, that's how White Mountain Road was born, right? We learned that on Thursday, where it was kind of a unique one-off accident-ish type of thing that turned out to be glorious.
That's right. Yeah, I don't really remember Luke was that. So that was just Desert Tropical that we filled up some mead barrels with?
No, so it was just a base stout. But what we did was after we racked Desert Tropical off all that coconut,
Right,
full of that coconut, and then we put just a little bit of barrel aged stout to just saturate on the coconut. So it was like 10 times as much coconut.
Right.
Beer should have had.
Yeah, what I still I'm kicking myself that we didn't do something else with it. We had that liquor that we soaked the coconut in, or bourbon that we soaked coconut in, and it was like this concentrated syrupy coconut booze.
Yeah.
And we gave a bunch of crowlers of it to Undertow, but I wonder what they ever did with that. It's probably delicious.
I mean, if you meant, I believe you told me that you gave them some really good syrupy booze at one point, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then I went there about a week after you told me that. I think when we were sitting here with Dustin and we cracked open a can before you labeled them. And when I went to Undertow, and I think I even texted Jason Asher, I got back we drank it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was delicious.
So it was gone. So if it happens again, just save me a little. Just a smidge.
Yeah, it was nectar of the gods for sure. It was delicious.
I mean, he talked it up. I don't know if I can't remember Adam Green. You might have been with me when we had that with Dustin.
Yeah.
And then I went to Undertow like within the week of that conversation. It was very sad. Guys, if you're watching right now, any questions for Drew? Any questions for Luke? We just had a little taste of Bird, their upcoming horse collab. What's the release date of that?
I don't know, Drew.
Drew?
Tuesday?
Is it Tuesday?
Well, I don't know. No, we got Birthday Boy, and then we got
Just say
the Stack.
tomorrow's Bird's Nest. You got Tuesday's Birthday Boy, right? Is it third?
Maybe it's Thursday. Is it last day? It might be Thursday.
That would make sense.
Gonna go Thursday.
Otherwise, he's going to be real stressed out about canning for the next 2 days.
That's true.
Tiki Stout is Friday.
Friday.
Oh,
19th,
So Tiki Stout, Friday, 19th.
which is Bird.
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 Super good. So Bird comes out Friday. If you got questions, pop them in the comments. But before we move on to the next, we're going to open up some Bird's Nest. I know you've already started pouring yours. It looks like you are way ahead of us.
Oh, wow.
Bird's Nest at home, Drew, that you can join us with? Or
I do not have one, but I got to try it 2 days ago, and it is delicious. It's like old ale / barley wine esque. I think it's very Rolo, where there's originals. I think that's what's popular right now on Barley Wine's Life.
Rolo and Werther's Originals.
Yeah,
I think I just heard everyone's grandfather's ears perk up.
Right. Yeah.
Old men.
What?
Oh, man, that's all right. A little bit of that.
Well, I mean, it's a lot more complex than that. So there's some Bury Mill in there. That's our first barrel aged beer. That's like 5 years old. So you got some really deep, oaky, kind of sherry like qualities in there. And then we blended it with some kind of fresh-ish stout. So, yeah, I think it came out really nice. We ended up actually pulling out some of the blend just because we wanted it to pop a little bit more. Sometimes when you blend too much, you kind of get to like a muted sort of flavor profile. So we actually just kind of pulled back some things and let the Bury Mill kind of shine, and I think it pops a lot more.
Yeah, I can say that it is very complex but very balanced, and I'm quite confident it'll be right up Adam Green's alley. And it's what, 40% whiskey, 60% bourbon barrel age, I think. It's a nice. The barrel on it is like a nice blend of the two flavors.
We have to pull an Adam Green and read the can.
No, I was going to say, though, like, I appreciate you guys making beers for me. Like, it's totally unnecessary. There's other consumers out there, people will spend their money, but you didn't have to do that, but I appreciate you guys for doing so.
That's why it's green, Adam. It's green for you.
We always ask ourselves, would Adam like this before we
you know what?
The answer would be yes. If we're being honest with ourselves, no matter what you're brewing, I'll be.
It's WWJD bracelets are out of style. They're what would Adam drink? They're WWAD bracelets. Everyone's wearing them now. As you make a drink, as you make a beer, remind yourself by looking at your wrist, what would Adam drink? You know, that's all you have to do. It's very simple.
I think that's a great way to go about brewing for not just you guys, but any other brewers who might be watching this show. Just think it through.
What would Adam drink? Real quick before we get into this beer anymore, Jack has asked a couple of questions and we missed them, but he asked about if you guys had any other plans for porter or red ale release this year.
I would have to ask Luke that question.
That's a you question.
Porter or red ale?
Yes, sir.
No, but currently not. Currently not.
But ask Carter. Ask Carter, Jack.
I mean, ask Adam what he wants you to brew. He might say
So we do have one beer for members this week. That's our Imperial Porter who hit John, aged in Jack Daniel's Gold number 27 barrels, which is a Jack Daniel's Select whiskey that they then double age in maple oak barrels, and then we age to a John in that.
Did members already know about this? Was that announcement made?
No.
Yeah, that just happened right here.
Well, we'll probably
react live to that news right there.
We'll probably make Black Caddis again, probably just for sentimental reasons this fall.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait a minute.
There's controversy now.
That's not what Preston said. So now there's an issue.
Preston's saying that we're not going to brew Black Caddis again?
No, he's saying that when you said there were not going to be any porters or red ales, apparently that's not what Preston said.
Oh.
Well,
so yeah, I think
we haven't talked about it.
Somebody sent Preston the link to the show right now.
I think to be fair, Luke said there's no plans, which is correct. We don't have it on our brew schedule. So
hey, great question right below, Brian. You guys want to tell him about Saguaro Society? Drew?
Yeah. So that is our infamous barrel club that opens up in October-ish timeframe. So we'll probably start a waiting list again here in the next couple months, or just waiting list, aka like Google Doc that you can go put your email on, so you get notified when signups happen. And then we normally do like a random draw for folks to join. So generally every year we expect 20 to 30 members or so to not renew. So right now we have 300 members. We're probably going to keep it at 300 members. So there'll probably be 30 or so spots that open up. And then, as part of the membership, you get early access to all of our beers. Put an asterisk on that. So most all of our beers, so some lagers we don't offer for pre-sale just because they last a long time. And then we do about 12 barrel-aged releases every year that mostly get consumed by the society. So a lot of single barrel, single bottle releases and that sort of thing. And that's the spiel.
I can just say membership does have its privileges.
We have the parties too, right? You get cool glassware, maybe a tiki mug,
a bolo tie, a hat. Hopefully, we got a permit to use our parking lot for our anniversary this year, and obviously didn't need that because of coronavirus, but I think we'll do something like that for our member party at the end of the year. Open up the parking lot and make it like a bigger, more relaxed environment.
Drew, do you get the impression that, talking about permits, that the local governments are going to be a little bit? Will they adjust to post-coronavirus worlds where they'll let you guys use your outdoor space a little more easily, especially when it's even into early next year, there might still be reasons to try to be not cramming into a tight interior space. Do you feel like that's something that might be changing in the way that the local governments kind of govern kind of operations?
So I think theoretically they should, but practically they won't. So I think government a lot of times, especially local government, I think they mean well, but they're generally behind a little bit. I think they had a really fast reaction with coronavirus, allowing curbside and beer to go, and even like mixed drinks to go and all that stuff. But I think you're probably going to see a whiplash effect of them really tightening stuff up. And they've closed the permits office for a while now, so you can't really get any new permits or anything like that. So it would be nice. And I think when we go talk to the permitting person, we can say, well, we can space out people in our backyard, but I don't think that'll affect their decisions at the end of the day. Because, government's going to government. So.
One thing we have brewer, and Drew, we have you here too. I'm curious, when you guys are going over your year menu or what you guys are going to be brewing, like how do you decide what's going to be brewed or what styles you want to go for? Like what goes into that thought process?
Well, so I'll say one quick thing, then I'll let Luke comment. But generally, we probably plan out a month or two in advance. We might have some big audacious goals for the year and say, hey, let's double our barrel offerings, or let's really do a lot more oak fermented lagers. But that's kind of the level that I leave it at. And then, Preston and Luke figure out, okay, what are we actually going to brew the next month and the next 2 months? And obviously that's a mix of tap room distribution as well as fun stuff. So, Luke can probably talk more about how him and Preston agree on what they're going to make.
Yeah, so there's a big portion of what we do, which is just kind of our nonstop coming out, Big Spill and Spellbinder and Valley Beer, stuff like that. And then obviously a large percentage is kind of up in the air. And over the last few years, we've always adapted with, what people are really asking for. And then kind of that gets combined with what we're inspired by, what sounds fun to make, what sounds challenging to make. And there's just, now at this point, there's just such a big blend of so many variables that go into the free tank space that we have. A lot of that's been getting taken up by, what folks like you like drinking, which seems to be imperial, hazy, hoppy IPAs, double IPAs, triple IPAs. So we allocate a lot of tank space for that. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And then at the end of the day, we'll end up having a few tanks here and there. We do some experimental German lagers. We do some late 1980s style American Pale Ale, which was Sarge. So we definitely we kind of narrow it down to this really small tank space availability that we just kind of brew what sounds fun and what sounds challenging and what we're inspired by.
Yeah.
But really, you just ask what would Adam Green want to drink, which
right, mostly red ale.
Barley wine.
It's just what would Adam drink? WWAD. Okay, we'll have those shirts out next week, everybody. It's
just think to yourself, WAD.
It's WAD with an extra W. It's WAD with a stutter. Well, what?
But really, I found that interesting. There's obviously stuff you want to sell beer, so you brew what people want to drink, but then what's challenging, what's fun, what inspires you, and that could be any number of styles that are out there. And at the same time, you're hoping that something that challenges you or inspires you, people will want to buy and drink themselves as well. So I feel like it's, that balance of, okay, we got to make money, it's a brewery or it's a business, but also push your limits and styles and things that you guys want to do as well. It's it's partly for the consumers and partly for you guys too.
Well, yeah, and I think a good example of that was the Las Frescas series, right, where that obviously was like a gangbusters thing that everybody liked a lot. I think from a brewing point of view, it was sort of not what we wanted to do, just because it kind of took some of the soul out of brewing and the craft. It was, frankly, like mixing some puree into a sour ale base, which, tastes great. But at the end of the day, we asked ourselves, when you look in the mirror, is it like, God damn it, I'm, making some fruit.
You felt bad about making Frescas.
So anyways, the point is that we took that and we said, okay, how can we do it and be proud of it? And that was, actually brewing it like a beer. So that's what Luke and Preston have been doing. And then, we came up with like 9%. Obviously they're not going to be as dense and fruit slurry-ish as the past. But at the same time, we think they're still super enjoyable. And they're, a fruited sour ale, and there's nothing to be, ashamed of.
You can look yourself in the mirror with these Frescas and feel good about yourself.
Right.
Is there a style that you guys feel like you haven't, that would be like a challenge for you guys that you want to try to tackle next, that you don't feel like you've tried often enough or at all?
So Luke, go first, and then I'll chime in.
I mean, yeah, I can just speak kind of personally as a brewer who has a pretty big creative input here. I think on our system, we're limited. We can't, like I mentioned earlier, we currently can't do some style of brewing like decocted mashes or traditional stem mashes. We can like tinker around with it. One thing we can do though is start implementing, or we haven't yet, but a big goal of mine is to implement some cereal mashed saisons for cans, something that hasn't really blown up too much here in Arizona, but has always been popular around the East Coast. Just to do really heat up, almost boil some like raw wheat and raw oats, raw corn, and really have this really old historical kind of saison character in can. That's definitely something that I'm inspired to do. So hopefully we can get around to that at some point.
Yeah, and then I totally agree with Luke on that. I mean, and I think some of the can crowler condition stuff that we had experimented with in the past were like super delicious. So obviously, and that's a super challenging thing. So I'd like to do that. But I think from my point of view, I'm inspired by like not old world brewing, but old world styles. So like, again, like Icebox or Doppelbox, things like that, where there's a ton of nuance to them. And to do it right, I think is incredibly challenging. So, maybe doing like a oak fermented, Doppelbock or something like that would be, on top of my list personally, but I don't think it's on the top of our breweries list anytime soon.
Yeah, it's fun. I was actually thinking like Saison, Luke might have been one that I would be curious to see you guys to take a shot at, because I'm not a huge Saison person, but when it's done right, it's, excellent.
Yeah. I mean, knowing us, it would be 5% hoppy, bitter, but still old world inspired and carbonated as possible that it can be. Just super representative.
One thing I like is when Drew was talking about like the old world style instead of like not old world style of brewing, but the old world style of beers. I was excited to see what it's like, yeah, I want you to go back to like, I don't know what the oldest style of brewing is, like the 1200s or something, and brew like that with the same type of equipment and everything and make those kind of beers. And I can picture you like looking like, what? No.
Yeah. So I totally dug it, 10 years ago, like the Dogfish Head stuff, Midas Touch and all those beers. They were like super.
Oh yeah.
And I was like mind blowing. I would seek them out just to see what the hell they were like concocting.
I was the same way. One of the first ones actually that caught my eye. Like, so when I was around my 21st birthday, I went to Whole Foods. That was like they were like the mecca of craft beer in Chandler, because they had a pretty good beer bar back in the day in Chandler. They did. They had a ton of beer on tap. James Swan was their beer buyer at the time out there at the Chandler location with the watering hole. He did a beer class every Wednesday for $5. You could taste like 5 beers. But I was stuck on some Dogfish Head stuff like Midas Touch. Ta Hankett, do you remember that one where they had the papyrus scroll recipe and they went and gathered wild yeast in Egypt to make it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I still search out there like raison d'etre or whatever.
Yeah, raison d'etre.
Probably brutalizing it, but yeah, I mean they make some killer stuff. I mean, Worldwide Stout is fantastic. So yeah, and their sort of search to see, digging up old recipes or old ways of doing things from like Mesopotamia. I mean, that's super cool. I don't think we'll ever do it, but cool.
I guess that's the fun of it, right? Like, you guys are making the beer however you want to do it, whatever styles you want to do. Like, there's no real rules other than just what you impose on yourselves to make it something that people are going to want to drink.
Yeah.
So
and I know Sam Fraser just commented Klooster beer. So yeah, I mean that's like a German Abbey beer. It would be Doppelbock Shark. Super good stuff.
I mean, doable, right? Huh? I'm just gonna keep doing this until you guys look at each other and nod, and then maybe do like a weird baseball handshake thing.
Yes.
And then there's
Yeah, you need the indicator first. I
noticed they both have their hands to themselves, so there's no There's no real we've already spilled one big secret on this one, so that's no more secrets. Sorry about the Jack Daniels number 27 barrel aged Who Hit John. That is not happening for anyone.
Well, I think somebody. So if you were at the Saguaro party, we or Luke treated one of those barrels with peanuts. I think it was that like peanut Who Hit John.
Yeah,
that was like
I was
super good.
Upset that I missed that party because I was working, but now I'm glad that I was working because now I can't work because of COVID. So, the whole traveling thing is not happening anymore. You don't get to put 5,000 people in a convention center right now. Nobody wants to do it. I don't know why. It's crazy.
You guys see there, Jesse really enjoyed Steps of Knowledge, one of his favorite stouts. Would love to see more. It is a really damn good beer.
Yeah, good old Olmec. Yeah. That's good ones.
You guys have inadvertently, we don't know how, I keep saying this, we have no idea how we always end up drinking some sort of Wren House beer on every show. It has nothing to do with the fact that we all have memberships. And this is a completely unpaid partnership right now. So
what do you mean right now? What is it?
Usually at the bottom it says like actors have been compensated or like
send you an invoice after
beer drinkers have been compensated. I paid for this shirt when I came in today, and I've had a little pour of beer out of a tank. But
that's why we have this banner now, because
so let's talk about that banner. Right
Yusuf got a pour out of a tank while pouring into his tank that he bought there.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But hey, speaking of that banner, real quick before we finish up with this beer, hey Brett Berry, do you want to stand up for a second? Hey, take a look, everybody. You can get a Social Distance Drinking Club shirt. Only it looks like it says Rinking Club because he's not going to. There it is. At socialdistancedrinkingclub.com. Don't show your abs. You don't have any yet. CrossFit hasn't done you that much good.
Is that like a Euro cut? Seemed pretty slim.
It's a regular Bella Canvas shirt, man. It's the same one you guys probably used for your last run of shirts.
It's a large, but I'm a larger gentleman.
You are a big man. This tank top is coming your way, by the way. I got to go dig out a medium and I'm buying another one. So, but yes, support the show at socialdistancedrinkingclub.com. Let's finish on the last couple of tasting notes on this beer because we touched on the top of it, but we didn't really wrap it up. So I want to let you do that. So good.
it looks good. It sounds good. I can't wait to put that inside of me.
Well, you could have gone and picked it up, but you can get it tomorrow.
Yeah, so we combined, options. 5-year-old Berry Mill. There's some 9-month-old Buffalo Trace Barrel Aged Imperial Stout that ended up being almost 60% of the blend. The old Berry Mill was about 40. That beer originally, almost 5 years ago, was brewed with a touch of peat smoked malt, very traditional wee heavy style, and it's just been aging for forever, for 5 years. It's the longest barrels we had back there. On their own, maybe not everyone's favorite. I really enjoyed it. It kind of made it, a bit more accessible and a bit more interesting to drink by blending in that newer Buffalo Trace. So you have your one side, which is heavy fudge and vanilla and oak, light oak, I should say, and your other side, which is heavy, deep, almost oxidized oak, sherry, toffee, like Drew said, Rolo. You get the caramel from the Berry Mill and the chocolate from the Buffalo Trace Stout. Just really kind of blends into this cool, super complex 11.9% barrel-aged strong ale. That's unlike anything we've ever done, and hopefully unlike anything you've ever had. So hope you enjoy it.
I hear children, Drew. Does that mean
they're playing Minecraft or something? I don't know.
They're playing Minecraft or something like that?
I don't know what's going on.
Well, if you guys are up for it,
time for another beer.
On Tuesday, I'd really like to button up Wren anniversary week with you guys. I mean, I guess anniversary week goes until when, technically?
Well, I mean, the end of next week.
And next week?
Well, next Friday, yeah.
So next Friday. So either Tuesday or Thursday. Maybe we do Thursday then, since people can actually get their hands on some Tiki Stout on Friday. We can button things up. We're going to run one more contest. We're going to pick a winner today, by the way, guys, if you were not a part of that already. So we did a shirt and a mask. That's that right there. We are going to pick a winner for that. I don't see the comment that popped up. It's just blank. But there you go. Yeah, we're gonna pick a winner for that today. By 5 o'clock, you'll get a direct message to the winner. And then coming up will be our next giveaway, which is Hat in a Mug, guys. Hat in a Mug. So stay tuned for it. Take a look. It's going to be awesome. That'll be on Instagram and Facebook. Same rules will apply when it launches. Thank you guys for hooking us up with that stuff. So someone will be walking around in a Social Distance Drinking Club mask and a dope 5-year anniversary shirt. And the other person can walk around with an empty mug because in public it would be illegal. But screw it, there are no rules. It's COVID.
We got a question here. First, that's a Saguaro spelled interestingly, society-only beer.
Saguaro. It's not, right? This is a public release? Bird's Nest tomorrow?
It's a member-only beer. But the way we do those member beers is, especially with the blends, there's probably 900 cans of it or so. So whatever members don't buy, depending on how much there is, we'll generally sell it to the public. So Bobby, I would keep an eye out probably a week from now for that one.
I love the professional disconnect, because he's just like, I make good beer, and Drew's like, nope, you don't get to buy that. And he's like, I don't know, somebody's buying it. I'm just gonna make it. It's delicious, but I don't know.
Well, I think we all have we all have our expertise. So, and I think that's why Wren is so successful, is because we don't step on each other's toes too much, and we don't have to worry about what each other's doing, because we have confidence that they're going to do it and do it well. So,
and that's something maybe we'll get into in another conversation sometime on the show. Is you have a very unique situation in terms of running your business, and I would love to get into it, because you have a day job and you work a day job, but you've got a family, you've got a full-time job on top of a full-time job on top of another full-time job here. This morning when I messaged Drew and I was like, hey, who's running social media? And he's like, me. And I'm like, Jesus, you're a busy man. Probably had
Luke and Kyle are taking more of that responsibility over, but
I think at that moment while I was texting you, you must have had your hands full. So you got people giving you the clap. Yes. Commend all of you guys. Thank you guys so much. Everybody here. I'm definitely going to walk in and say thank you to everybody from a distance in the tap room that's working their asses off right now.
Right.
And Sam Fraser says, Prost, keep doing you. Wren. Stas, I'm sorry that you saw somebody with an SDDC mask. You could have tripped her, but not nice. I think I know who it was, and she was sweet enough to get one. I'm sorry. Not selling them at the moment to anyone but close friends, so just covering costs on printing them. But anyways, you can still get a shirt, which is cool. Check that link out. Drew, thank you for your time. If you're okay doing this with us again sometime this week before the end of anniversary week, would be great.
Sure.
So take a look at the link below, and when I post the contest today, you'll see it on our page. You'll see it on Drew's page. You'll probably see it on the Wren House page and Drew's page. Sorry, is what I meant. And you'll see it on mine and on Luke's, all the pages. It'll be everywhere. Find it everywhere. But yes, so contest coming up. This has been awesome. Cheers, guys. If you've got a drink in your hands, as always, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Social Distance Drinking Club. Drew, don't go anywhere. Hang tight for a little post-show conversation real quick. And cheers, guys. Salud.